All right, we are back with Football 301. Breakout players. We're going to start with maybe some more obvious ones, maybe ones that are like, oh yeah, duh. You know, the former first-round pick, maybe the fantasy darling. We have a couple defensive players in here, though. We'll start with a couple of those offensive players. Actually, I want to start with two players on your team. One is, I think, super obvious in Bijan Robinson, so I don't think we should even spend any time on that. But yeah, the other one, though, and this is kind of a segue to get into the subsection of this, but that is Drake London. Charles, where do you stand as a Falcons fan with Drake London right now? A reminder, first receiver taken in a pretty good receiver class. Yeah. Hasn't broken 1,000 yards yet, I don't believe.
It's gotten close. But
he's sniffed it. But we're having him as a breakout player, and that is why, Mr. Verts.
He's really good. Like, he's really, 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 really good.
He's really good.
Yeah, I know he hasn't, he hasn't had like the crazy statistical success, but when I watch him play, I still feel fine about the decision to take him at 8. For whatever reason, whether it's Ritter, whether it's Arthur Smith, whether it's Mariota, it just hasn't quite clicked for him, like as far as stats wise goes. But man, like when you watch him play, he is insanely talented, especially when it comes to what we've been talking about, like dunking on defensive backs.
Yeah,
he's an absolute monster at the catch point. I think he gets open better than people realize too.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good with the ball in his hands. Like I think he's a pretty complete receiver. Just the opportunities haven't quite been there for him yet. So I think this year with Kirk, I'm expecting this to be a pretty big season for Drake London. Just because you're getting a level of competency that you haven't had before. And I would say that this goes for Kyle Pitts too. I mean, the one time Kyle Pitts had a quarterback that kind of knew what was really going on out there with Matt Ryan. His last year in Atlanta, he went for over 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end, which is something that's pretty rare. So
that's pretty rare.
Yeah, pretty rare. I think that this is a good spot for Drake London. I think he's going to show a lot of people why he was still a top 10 pick, and I'm still all the way in on this one.
I'm full-throated on this one. Drake London. It's just I loved him in that coming out of college. I think now what this offense can do, they say that he's the Z as opposed to the X, which is Darnell Mooney, which is a thought for a later time. But with London there, that means he's moving around. He can be a jet motion guy. He was really good as an underneath guy in college, taking like flats and bubbles and jet, not kind of like jet sweep stuff, but like pitch stuff. And he's shown that as a pro so far, is that he can just bury guys. Like he makes a lot of guys miss after the snap or after he gets the catch through physicality and body control. It's just it's a great example of how guys win in different ways. Like, and he's a perfect example of that because it's not going to like juke a guy and make a highlight where he breaks a guy off, but he can throw a guy by over and over and get a couple simple 3, 4, 5 yards, hidden yards that the good receivers find. He's a first down machine. Like hyper efficient guy that this offense is going to pass a little more. And it's not an offense that I'm like, ooh, how's he going to fit in that? It's like, oh, this is perfect for him with, like you say, a quarterback improvement and everything. So big, I think Drake London here. And really, this is like a classic NFL thing, is the classic third year breakout receiver. So honestly, you could pick anyone from that class and you could go, yeah, that's my breakout candidate this year. Not Jahan Dotson, but Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson already won Rookie of the Year, so how much more can he break out? But he has a great chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. So this was a producer nom, Jaxon Smith-Njigba from the Seattle Seahawks, another receiver that from preseason has encouraged me. My comparison for him was Brandon Stokely. And so it's like, that manage your expectations with JSN. Watching him in Grubb's offense has encouraged me a lot because he's buying into some of the dirty work stuff you have to do in that. And I think he's going to get peppered a little bit more like in that offense where he's going to be trying to think like a perfect comparison to that role. Maybe like the Jalen McMillan in that role where it's more of the slot intermediate guy, flats, do some dirty work stuff, and I think it's a much better fit. I don't even know your thoughts on Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I don't think we've ever had a conversation about him.
With JSN, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's going to be tough for him just to get the targets all the time, maybe that he wants, because look, DK Metcalf has his faults, but I understand throwing to Megatron like Megatron 2.0, or maybe we'll call him 1.5.
Yeah.
It's not
0.8.
0.8. Megatron 0.8. Yeah, I still get why you might throw to him like 15 times a game, because he's huge and fast and he can get open. But JSN, I do really think that his skill set, like for this offense, should fit pretty seamlessly, right? It's just more about like the opportunity. But I wouldn't be surprised, like at the end of the year, if he has just an insanely efficient year from just like, you know, a target to like what you're doing on this target standpoint. Maybe
like first
not the
down
whole
per
volume,
target kind of thing.
First down per target, EPA per play, stuff like that. I think that he could rank pretty highly for them, but I think we're probably still like a year away from like him actually getting the heavy target load that he wants. But I still am excited to watch this, because like if they can just block this year, like this should be a top 10 offense, like pretty easily, I would think. But like that's the one thing, because you got the receiver talent down. I think JSN it's the perfect trio of receivers as far as like skill sets bouncing off of each other. It's just now it's like just opportunity cost.